For this assignment, I'm going to teach you a little bit about Agam, who is an Israeli sculptor and experimental artist best known for his contributions to optical and kinetic art. He was born on May 11, 1928 in Palestine. Optical art is art created when artists use shapes, colors, and patterns in special ways to create images that look as if they are moving or blurring or three-dimensional. Kinetic art is a form of art that depends on movement for its effect. You can learn more on both of those with the links that I included with this lesson. Agam is also known for a type of print called an Agamograph, which is artwork that looks different depending on the angle from which it is viewed. So if you view it from the left, the center, and the right, you're going to get two separate images. Let's make an emoji agamograph. So here's one that I've made. If you turn it this way, there's a heart eye emoji, and if you turn it this way, there's a kissy face emoji. So to make this project, you're going to need two pieces of paper. Drawing paper or printer paper will work just fine. I have a white paper and a colored paper, but two white papers would work just fine also. You're also going to need a pencil, a Sharpie, a pair of scissors, maybe a ruler, and then some markers or crayons or colored pencils. Even paint would work fine, but markers is my favorite for this project. Okay, we're gonna start with one of our pieces of paper. First thing you're going to do is you need to fold it in half. And oftentimes when students are making a fold, they get it lined up just perfect, and then when they go to make the crease, the paper slides and does this. If that's ever happened to you, you know how frustrating it is. So I'd like to teach you a little trick. If you get it lined up just where you want it, then you can start by making your crease in the center with one finger and then travel out one direction and then the other. For this project, your folds and creases need to be very precise in order for them to work. So I'm going to go back over it with my nail when I'm finished. Now this is where I said you might need a ruler. So if I measure the distance here of half of my paper, it's 6 inches. So if I want to make this a perfect square, I can measure 6 inches in two places. Maybe there and there. 2 places allows for me to have 2 points here to connect to make a straight line. When I'm drawing a line with the ruler, I make sure that the ruler is being held down by my fingers at one end and my thumb at another end, so that when I start to make my line, it does not move, because that can be frustrating too. So I'm holding it correctly, and I'm going to lean my pencil tip against the ruler to make that nice straight line. So this is going to make this part of my paper a perfect square. If you don't have a ruler available, you can just kind of eyeball it, which means just make a good guess, because the paper doesn't have to be perfectly square in order for this project to be successful. But if you have a ruler, you might as well use it and practice your measuring skills. Now I'm going to set this paper aside and take my second paper, and it might be a white one, it might be a different color than this, that's fine too. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fold it in half, make a nice strong crease, and then what I can do is hold these together on top of one another, and then I'm going to use my scissors to cut. I'm holding them on top of one another so that I'm cutting both papers to be the same size at the same time to save myself some work so that I don't have to measure and cut twice. These pieces will be discarded. And now I have these 2 pieces that look like little square books. So again, I'm going to set this piece aside. I need my white paper or one of the white papers for now. I'm going to open this up. And on one side, I'm going to draw one emoji, and on the other side, I'm going to draw a second emoji. And if you noticed, I included a file that has lots of emoji examples to inspire you if you need some ideas. Here's where it would be really helpful if you have something that you can trace that will make a nice circle for you. I'm actually going to fold this back in half for a minute. I'm going to make sure this is centered nicely on my paper, and then I'm going to hold it in place while I use a pencil to trace. When I'm finished, I'm going to unfold my paper. If I'm using a Sharpie, which is definitely preferred for this project, I'm going to make sure I have something covering my table surface before I use it here so it does not bleed through onto that surface. And then I am just going to trace it. I find it's easiest to do my lines in short amounts and twist my paper rather than trying to twist my arm around. And if I've done this in Sharpie, then when I fold this in half again, I can see through just enough to trace a circle on this side so that they're matching in exactly the same size and location. I'm going to go back to my pencil to make sure I have it correct. If I make the mistake in Sharpie, I'll have to start over, which is not fun. And I'm going to open it up again. Now I have two matchies, same location on the papers, which is nice. And I'm going to make sure they're both traced in Sharpie before I continue. Next thing I need to do is to decide what two emojis I'd like to make. My favorite is the heart eye emoji. I also really like the laughing emoji. I'm going to start with the mouth. It's kind of a line across the center, and then it takes up almost the whole bottom. And if you want to, you can include a little tongue there so it looks like it's laughing. Actually, maybe I'll make that laughing face. Remember, there's ones that have like tears, like you're laughing really hard, or you can make the eyes that are kind of like sideways V's inward if you want to. That's fine too. And then you need to decide on a different expression for your second emoji. You might notice I strayed from my pencil marks a little bit when I was drawing with Sharpie. If you feel like that's necessary, that's always an okay thing to do. Improve your drawing as you go. Oops. I always neaten up my drawing with an eraser when I'm finished to make sure I don't have any leftover pencil marks that are showing. This is especially important because emoji faces are yellow, and yellow will show that pencil mark right through. So you want to make sure that it's gone before you begin coloring the yellow. This is another reason that Sharpie is important for this. If this was a regular black marker, the eraser might be smudging it, and then when I add color, if it's a regular black marker, the black will smudge into those colors, which again is an important thing to note when you're working with yellow in particular, because the black will muddy that up. So now I just need to color in. Next, I want to choose colors for the background. I can make the same background or I can do different backgrounds. That's entirely your choice. Okay, now that it's all colored, I'm ready to start cutting my emoji faces into strips of paper that are separate from one another. So I've already created this crease in the center here. I'm going to cut on that crease. I don't know if it's easier for you to see from the front or the back. Precision is important here, which means that you are cutting as close to exactly on that line as possible. So I definitely recommend you go very slowly and pay close attention to what you're doing. Okay, now I'm going to fold it in half. Make sure that you are doing this in a vertical fold, okay? Do not do horizontal. So I'm going to, again, line these up perfectly. Start with one finger in the center, go out one direction from the center, and then out from the other direction. I think it's helpful to fold a couple of times before I cut, just to make sure that my fold is really exactly where I want it and very easy to see, so that when I'm cutting with my scissors, I'm not confused about exactly where the line is that I should be cutting on. When I feel good about that, again, I'm going to go slow, because this project will be so much more successful if you pay attention to trying your best to be precise or exact. So now he's cut right in half, and now I need to do that one more time. Again, vertical fold, so up and down. And this paper is pretty easy to fold at this point because it is so saturated with marker that it's made it kind of flimsy. Okay, I feel pretty good about that. I'm going to do this one at the same time. See how I'm holding it in place over here and here with my fingers? I'm starting in the center and then going outward, starting in the center again and going outward. If you start from one edge and try to go from one edge to the other, there's a lot of opportunity for your paper to slide. keep it partially folded while I'm cutting because that helps me to see the line and to stay on it. Okay, so now I have my emoji cut into 4 strips of paper. Whoops. Here we go. I'm going to set him aside and do the same thing with the other one. Okay, now that I've completed all the cuts that are necessary for my emoji faces, I'm going to set those aside. And now I need to work on my other paper that I have waiting for me. Again, yours might be white or a different color. It's kind of whatever paper you have. So now what I need to do is make folds in this paper that match where I made the cuts here. So you could use your ruler to measure if you wanted, but I think it's easier just to take advantage of folding things in half. So I'm going to open this kind of like a book, fold it back on itself. And remember to make that crease from the center out to the edges. You guys are professionals at that now. And then what I can do is fold it in half one more time. Again, precision is important, so do your best. See how I'm really making an effort to hold this in place? Okay, and when I open this up, I've got that. Now I'm going to do the same thing to this side over here. I'm going to fold this right at that center crease. And I can fold it up on itself again to that same crease. Hopefully you can see that these widths are matching these widths here. Okay, now that I've done this, I've got creases where I need them, but now I want them to fold a specific way, like an accordion. So I want this to go this way and then backwards. And then I'm gonna kind of coax this one to go forward, backward, forward, backward, and this last one, like this. So now I'm going to really get my thumbnail on there, recrease those, and now I have an accordion, which is necessary for gluing. So I'm going to lay this out flat for now. And then what I would like to do is start gluing. Okay, for this project I really like the glue stick because it has a faster drying time and you're less likely to over glue and kind of make this kind of soggy mess. So if you just have a glue bottle, that's fine. Just make sure that you remember a little bit of glue goes a very long way. So what I'm going to do here is take the first strip of my first emoji, make sure you can see all of this mostly, and I am going to apply glue to the back. I want to make sure I get really close to the edges, but I don't want to get glue all over the place, so I'm not going past the edges. Now again, precision is really important. So if I haven't laid it down exactly straight, I am going to kind of mess with it until I have laid it down exactly straight, because otherwise it's not going to fold. So that's the first part of my first emoji. Now I want to do the first part of my second emoji. There shouldn't be any gaps or overlaps or spaces between these. It really should line up perfectly or almost perfectly. Now I'm going to go back to my next one, or my first one I should say, and glue the second piece of my first one. And after that, I am going to glue the second piece of my second one. It's like 1, 1, 2, 2, next will be 3, 3, and last will be 4, and then 4. A-B pattern. Okay, so I've got all my pieces. It doesn't quite look right when it's laying flat out like this, but now what I'm going to do is fold that back up accordion style. And then I'm going to, again, you might have to kind of manhandle it here, meaning give it some extra pressure, reform those creases. And then when you open it up, you have your Agamogram. So, Agamograph, I'm sorry. There's my laughing emoji, and here's my fun in the sun emoji. And if I pull it out flat, that's how it looks.